I used to hate the world, and I was happy when everyone died. But I was wrong, because there was one person worth saving. That's what I did. I saved him. Then I protected him. That's why men like you and me are here. To do. And God help any motherfuckers who stand in our way. And when we're done, we'll go wherever you want. Tommy's, Sheep Ranch, the moon. I'll follow you anywhere you go.
So The Last of Us on HBO just finished. I don't know what to say. Everything to say about this amazing series has already been said. And I've already expressed how masterfully and delicately this series has been handled. I've covered everything up to episode 8, and I just finished the finale, but I want to express my thoughts on the series as a whole, and then I'll talk about the finale. The original game from 2013 was a masterpiece in gaming and storytelling, and I know that word gets thrown around far too often these days, but there is a reason so many people are so passionate about this game, this story, and these characters, myself included. There's no denying the worry that people had when word came out that The Last of Us was getting an adaptation. And even more worry came out when the news that Pedro and Bella were directed to not play the game before filming. It seems like a weird choice to direct your actors to not experience the source material that you're adapting from. Adaptations historically aren't well received by fans. Film and TV usually fail when it comes to capturing what made the game so special. Thankfully, The Last of Us doesn't succumb to this trend. This is the perfect example of how to adapt a story to a new medium while also building onto the source material in a natural and effective way, utilizing the new tools and opportunities television or film provides. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the show was perfect or that it was better than the game, because it wasn't perfect. And I believe that the show acts as a nice counterpart to the game. It's a way for people who haven't played the games to experience this story and this world. And it also offers a lot for fans of the game. I want to just take a second and highlight some of the things that I think were either missed or maybe not as strong as they could have been. Number 1, infected. Most people agree that this show needs more infected. While the story never really focused solely on the infected, they definitely feel absent from the show. It's awesome to see the scenes that we did get with them, but it really feels like there was a missed opportunity with the infected, especially after making such a big change from the game, making them a hive mind and removing the spores in place of these vines that essentially connect the infected together. I just think that was a really neat idea that they could have brought back later and made it a bigger deal, but we'll see if it pays off in later seasons. Number 2, too short. I've been hearing a lot of people say that the story felt rushed, but I'd argue that that isn't the problem. See, the pacing of these episodes and the story progression, it feels great. I wouldn't drag any scene out longer or cut any scene down shorter. I think the problem is that in the game you get a lot of downtime with Joel and Ellie. You're either fighting enemies or you're just exploring the world for resources and collectibles. You get to spend a lot of time just focusing on these two characters and hearing the little bits of dialogue back and forth between the two. That's something that we didn't get a lot of in the show. I mean, we did get all the important scenes that grow Jelly and Oles, Joel and Ellie's relationship, but I believe we just needed another hour to give the viewers more time with these two and even feature more of the infected. One more episode I think would have helped out a lot. Number 3. Now this is the most important of the 3. There were no bricks and no bottles. The most useful tool in the whole game is using bricks and bottles to either distract your enemies or stun them to get an attack on them. And while I'm mostly joking, I'm also kind of sad that we didn't get something with bricks and bottles. On a more serious point, I feel like the action and the violence was dialed way down. They wanted to tell a more grounded and emotional story. It's not really a bad thing per se, but a little more action from Joel would have been nice. Now, I personally feel like the critiques that I just made are more so nitpicking. If you're someone who's experiencing this story for the first time, I'm curious to what critiques you have of the show, and if you're going to give the game a shot now that you've been introduced to the world and these characters, let me know. And if you're still watching this, why not subscribe? You're already here. In my previous episode reviews, I've spoken about how well this show is written. The changes that they've made have felt very natural, and I believe that they add to the story and the world in a positive way. I've also talked about the amazing performances from the cast, and the chemistry between Pedro and Bella are off the charts. It's insane. These two are the life and soul of the story, and to me, they are Joel and Ellie. While some episodes are weaker than others, there really isn't a bad episode. Every episode has a standout moment. I did express some concern about the finale only being 45 minutes, and a fear of them rushing to get to the end and just kind of dropping the ball. And I am happy to say that that is not the case. My point about the series not being long enough still stands, but I don't feel like the finale was rushed. I just wanted more, which is a testament to how good the show actually is. The way they were able to really build onto Joel's character, such as giving him these panic attacks and a heartbreaking monologue. We even get a reveal that the day after the outbreak, he had a failed attempt to end his own life, leaving him scarred physically and emotionally.
It was me. I was the guy who shot and missed. And I wasn't scared either. I was ready. I couldn't have been more ready. Went to pull the trigger, I flinched. Still don't know why. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this
I
is...
know why you're telling me all this.
Yeah, I reckon you do.
So time heals all wounds, I guess.
It wasn't time that did it.
This could very well be the reason that he struggles to hear out of that ear. That's just the theory, I'm not too sure. He tells Ellie this in an effort to comfort her. And Neil Druckmann has even said that in his head, he believes that Ellie's the only person he has ever told this to. We really see the payoff from Bill's letter earlier on in the series. Ellie has saved Joel, and Joel is going to hang on to that no matter the cost. The additional scenes are what makes an adaptation worth it. We get to see things that we could have never seen before, such as Ellie's mom giving birth to her. Ashley Johnson gave an amazing performance in this passing of the torch scene where she gives birth to the new Ellie. We get to see why Ellie is most likely immune to the infected, with Anna being bitten during childbirth, but before cutting the umbilical cord. She passes down her switchblade, and she tells Marlene to find somebody to bring her up and keep her safe, all before asking her to kill her. A scene I never knew I needed, but it was one of the highlights from the entire series, and it was heartbreaking and beautiful all at the same time. The pure innocence of Ellie as a baby, perfectly contrasted by the amazing giraffe scene that we all knew we needed. It's a visual representation of a loss of innocence. Joel tells her that they don't have to go through with it. They can turn back now and go live a life at Tommy's, but she says it can't all be for nothing. Everything that she has done, it can't be for nothing. To her, she's failed to save not only Riley, but Tess and also Sam, and now she has the chance to save the world. A lot like how Joel failed to save Sarah, now Joel has the chance to save Ellie. And she says after they can go back to Tommy's or Sheep Ranch or even the moon. And a line that absolutely crushed my entire soul, she says she'll follow Joel anywhere. Ellie needs all of the loss and all of the pain that she's experienced to mean something, to have a bigger purpose, and to actually matter. Then it's revealed that making a cure, if that's possible, would kill Ellie. When faced with the decision to save all of humanity or Ellie, Joel chooses to save Ellie. To Joel, the world is beyond saving. He's seen humanity at its lowest, and he's contributed to it. Up to this point, we've seen what humans are capable of, even to the point of seeing a group of cannibals. Not to imagine the things that Joel has seen in the 20 years since the outbreak, or the things that Joel's done that we've never heard about. Clearly, he's done some terrible things, considering the fact that Tommy chose to leave Joel to start a new life on his own, essentially. Remember, even though Joel is the protagonist of this story, he's not a hero. He's just a man who has done what he felt that he needed to in order to survive, no matter how morally skewed it was. But we've joined Joel on this journey, and as we've grown an attachment to Ellie, so is he. And now he is faced with a decision that I feel a lot of people would make, and that's why it's so decisive. That's why people a decade later are still arguing about whether he made the right or wrong decision. That's essentially the whole point, is it's all up to perspective and the different ways of people surviving. And if we think about it from the beginning, from the opening scene, they've made a big point that a cure hasn't been possible up to this point. And another thing I would want to highlight is that the Fireflies are by no means an organized group. You know, this is a group that depends on recruiting young people in order to commit acts of terrorism, and if innocent people get hurt, it doesn't matter because it's for the greater good. This is a group that struggled to make it across the country while being heavily armed and having multiple members, while Joel and Ellie did it with just the two of them. And if they can somehow manage to manufacture a cure using 2003 medical technology, then comes the question of how are they going to distribute it? Are they just going to give the Fireflies the cure, or are they going to figure out how to get the cure to everybody? Does everybody deserve the cure? It's a logistical nightmare, and it seems highly unlikely that it is going to be possible. And remember, it can't be for nothing. Ellie's death can't be for nothing. Now, we close out season 1 exactly how the game closed out. Joel lies to Ellie about what actually happened with the Fireflies. Their relationship will never be the same from this moment. I think that this season was beautiful. It served the story justice. It's a perfect counterpart to the game. While they're the same, they almost feel like two sides of the same coin, which is shown by the mirroring of certain scenes. The game will depict Joel standing on one side of Ellie while the show depicts him standing on the other side, showing that while they're the same, they're different. It really begs the question of how is the story going to deviate further going into the future? But I'm going to make a separate video on that. I haven't felt this much excitement for The Last of Us since I initially played it in 2013. Like many others, I have a very personal attachment to the story. The series has only reminded me that this is my favorite game. As much of a normie answer as that might be, I do believe that this is one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of all time. It's easily one of the best stories of all time. I was initially introduced to YouTube Let's Plays through The Last of Us, and it led to some of the best moments of my teen years. Watching my favorite YouTubers play video games, I didn't have a care in the world. It was a simpler time, and I'm nostalgic of that. I never imagined that 10 years later, I would be reliving it, but through a different perspective. Making videos every week discussing the episode has been incredibly special, and it's going to be something that I look back on fondly. My first video that got any sort of attention was me changing my perspective and giving The Last of Us Part 2 a shot. Giving it a fair chance without the bias of either reviews that I've watched or just my opinion without having even finished the game. You know, it was a very emotional journey playing through the game again, and even today, months after making that video, I still find myself thinking about it and, you know, the complex issues that it covers. And even if at the time, you know, I didn't absolutely love the game because it wasn't exactly what I wanted, I'm becoming more partial to it every day, and I have a new appreciation for it, definitely, because, you know, of what I was able to discuss with other people and what I was able to create from it. You know, that is amazing in on its own, and I think that alone makes the game a masterpiece. But that's besides the point. This is about the show, and I too think that this show is amazing. You know, I never would have imagined that this series and this world and these characters, that they would become such an important part of my life. And I think that all there is left to say is thank you. I mean, thank you to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. Thank you to Pedro and Bella. Thank you to Troy and Ashley Johnson. Thank you to the whole Naughty Dog team for making such a beautiful game. And thank you to everybody who helped bring this to HBO and worked on this amazing series. It's a beautiful piece of cinema. It's far more than just a video game adaptation. It stands on its own as a masterfully crafted piece of television. And thank you to everyone who has decided to enjoy this very special moment with me. I don't know where we go from here, but I'll see you guys next time. See ya.